And after 2 months or over 2 months of posting these videos almost every single day, banging my head against the wall, being like, why isn't this working? I threw everything, I threw it all out. I said, screw this. I'm going back to the drawing board. So I researched all the agent marketers. I saw what they were doing. I came up with a few things, which is,
If you're a real estate agent in either Idaho or Buffalo, New York, you're going to love this interview that I just had with Jimmy Conover, who is a video agency owner in Boise, Idaho, who focuses exclusively on YouTube and social media content for his real estate clients. And he has clients who are getting up to 3 to 5 leads per week just from YouTube. So I wanted to pick his brain and learn a little bit about his journey from getting started to what made him niche into real estate, and then also some tactical and mindset shifts that he's had and what he teaches his clients to really step out in front of the crowd and succeed when it comes to their online presence. So thanks, Jimmy, so much for the conversation. Let's get into it. Yeah, so I don't know if you've probably haven't. I've only done a few episodes of my podcast where it's mainly before I niched, was to meet business owners throughout my area, just give them a platform, be able to have a conversation and learn more. Now I am focusing this towards just meeting as many real estate agents as I can in my area, and just getting in their orbit. But I figured I wanted to maybe have you on because I know you're doing awesome things. All your content I just want to steal, but I'm not. I'm not trying to actively not steal it. And I'd love to just pick your brain and learn what's working for you and your clients, and see if there's anything that I can take or learn from and apply it to mine, or anybody who watches this goes, that's a great idea. I want to do that. So would you be able to maybe tell me a little bit about like your background and kind of what got you from where you started to what you're doing now?
yeah, man, I got so much to say. So just to speed through, right? I feel like all of us that went through the same programs all started with the same place of like, we got a camera, we started making B-roll style videos, like travel like videos, if you will. And then it was like weddings and then eventually somehow you make it into corporate, and you don't like doing corporate because it's very boring. It's sit down, you have to use lights. Now you finally have to learn how to use lights and audio and not just go film out in natural light, run and gun style. And that's that was the path that I took. And I was taking, the brand message video and the testimonials, working with everybody, not wanting to niche down, because who am I to niche down if I don't know anything about anybody, really? But eventually, to go to that point that you were talking about in terms of, I forget exactly what it was, but for me, it has to do with conviction and going to sell. When we're talking about results, it's like just creating a pretty video. Like if you work with everyone and it's because you know how to record a nice video, you know how to record a brand message video. You don't gain any conviction from client to client to then go sell the next client, because it's like, look at this pretty video I made. That doesn't increase the conviction of what I do. I already know I can create a pretty video, but in the end, it's results. And at this point in time, I'm so results driven that I don't care whether we shoot content on a drone from 2000, a cell phone, GoPro. Like, I hope we have all that stuff too, because that means it's going to be a really interesting video that we're doing a lot of stuff in. But the point is that it just doesn't matter. The content, the gear that we use to create the content doesn't matter. And I finally have gotten away from that. Like, I think we all came up through YouTube watching Peter McKinnon and everybody else that was talking about cameras. And at some point I was like, unfollow, unsubscribe from everybody that had to do anything with cameras, and follow and subscribe to everybody that has to do with marketing and business, because that's what matters. Mm-hmm. So how I've gotten to so now I'm coming in where I'm currently at is a very interesting place, which is from, over the past few years, short form content has become really big. People are teaching you how to, as a video company, go and film short form content for other people. And so they're teaching us how to scale it, make it a scalable process, right? And so we need to go create content ideas. We need to go shoot in a room for 3 hours or an hour and a half, and then we'll go off and that'll be good. And what I've realized is just that's not necessarily what is needed. That's not necessarily what works. And that's kind of like what I was hinting at before in the conversation. I've come to this point because I joined a bunch of real estate groups. I've bought into real estate programs to be in their Facebook group, to hear all these agents talk to each other about their problems, about what they need. I started following a lot of agent influencers in terms of the agents that have found a ton of success, 50,000, 60,000 followers that aren't just agents, that are people that are interested in buying and selling in your community, since that is your ideal customer. And so through the learnings of, and then on top of that, so the big change that you've seen in the past 2 weeks comes from researching all the gurus that are doing what we want to do, what they're doing. So basically, real estate agent marketing people. I just searched that on Instagram and I saw what they were talking about, which they're not talking. They're just posting a B-roll video with some text over it that's very aesthetically pleasing with some brown and tan text. In the end, it helped me learn what agents are attracted to, specifically the agents that I work with. I tend to work with women. And so I just, at this point, I feel like it's much different. Once I realized what they're being sold, they're being sold like $47 programs where every single month they get done for you Canva templates for like market updates and content ideas. One of the hardest things is content ideas. So they'll get these content ideas that will literally just be Canva templates that'll be like, here's how to buy a house during the winter. And it'll be like 4 slides of like 4 tips on how to buy during the winter. And someone's made a business on this, $47 a month. And most agents, they may or may not even actually do it because there's still an accountability side where you still have to go and post it yourself. In the end, all of that took me to the style of content that you're currently seeing. So the content, we all live in different channels where we're all attracted to different things. Coming up in the video space, we're attracted to good lighting, good audio, great editing. These are the things that catch our attention. So I went through 60 videos of doing what everyone says, which is just come up with content ideas, script them out or don't script them out, and sit down, knock them all out, and boom, you got content in a day. And I did that for 60 videos, spent thousands of dollars on the editing because I wanted it the most epic editing I'd ever seen. And I had probably the lowest engagement I've ever had. And after 2 months or over 2 months of posting these videos almost every single day, banging my head against the wall, being like, why isn't this working? I threw everything, I threw it all out. I said, screw this. I'm going back to the drawing board. So I researched all the agent marketers. I saw what they were doing. I came up with a few things, which is number one, agents love to read. They don't necessarily want to watch a talking head. They love aesthetically pleasing text. So you have to make it very aesthetically pleasing. And they love read the caption type stuff and putting just different types. And so that's when you started to see my whiteboard with the cardboard. That's when I'm like, okay, I am stripping away everything. I don't want to just film my feet walking and then say 3 tips for X, Y, and Z, read the caption. I just won't do that. But I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the whiteboard. And it hit hard, and it's still hitting.
Yeah. I think I've seen that whiteboard type thing before, and it usually is like mainly because that's my algorithm. It's like, here's how to say this on a video, and it's someone doing something like that on TikTok, and mainly geared towards us. But no, I think it's such a good idea, and it's not just fluff. It's like, this is actually things that you can do with or without me that's gonna make your business better in some way. It's funny that we both I think we kind of started opposite, because I started with corporate and eventually tried weddings and hated it. And I loved working with corporate clients and video clients. I think a lot of people kind of do what you said, is like they start with weddings or something like that and the B-roll stuff. And then it all comes to one point though, where you find exactly what you like to do. But yeah, it's really great when you can like say, hey, I have something I can research now and really, dig my teeth into and get really good at serving those people. So what made you choose real estate agents?
Well, a few things. So I've been working with a real estate agent on YouTube for the past 11 months. We're going to go into our 12th month next month. So it'll be a full year of doing YouTube for real estate. And how I got into that was 3 years ago. I moved to the town that I'm in. And how did I learn about the town I'm in? I researched it on YouTube. Agents were putting out these videos about the local area and what there is to do in the area, what the schools are like, but their content was shit. The production was shit. Everything was garbage. They had no idea what they were doing. And I was like, man, I could really, and this is when I was growing my channel, my production quality was through the roof. Like I could blow it out of the water for these guys. And so that's when the belief of like, I can really, like, there's an opportunity here. That's when the belief in YouTube for real estate really started. That was 3 years ago. Since then, a lot of people, there's a lot of agents that have found success in this. And so they've built courses around it. So a lot more agents are getting into the space because they're able to learn from people that have succeeded in it. Yet I still feel, so why did I pick agents? Because my two longest standing clients are real estate agents. And based on number one, what I'm doing on YouTube with my real estate agent and I've sat in the 2-day boot camps, that agents with a course for YouTube will put on to try and get you to, buy into their $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000 course. So I've watched through everything they talk about. And of course, it's not everything I know, but I want to see the reactions. I want to see the responses. I want to see how they communicate. In the end, they're all talking about very dumbed down level stuff that we know just from growing on YouTube, but it's still the stuff that needs to be communicated. So it's honestly the results. There was nobody else that I could specifically say that I'm getting results for this person and that's why I'm going to do it. It had nothing to do with this person's paying me and that person's paying me. It's like, no, I'm getting results for these people. That's so much easier to go to somebody else and say, hey, look at these results I'm getting. Do you want these too?
Right. And I think it's easier to point to those results back to what you're doing in your efforts versus another company who might have, a million other marketing type channels out there where they might have commercials running, and agents can still have that stuff too. But I feel like it's a lot easier to focus. Like, here's what we did. We can point to those results.
Well, it's not just that. It's not like someone says, hey, I need a new roof. Can I get one? And you have no idea where they came from. It's like someone will reach out and say, hey, I've been watching you on YouTube and I'm coming into town and I love this video you made. And that's obvious. So that's how we know, right?
Yeah, so YouTube is something, I guess I was saying before we kind of started, YouTube's a newer thing for what I'm recommending. It's one of those things that I've always known should be done, but it seems harder. And I don't think it is. It's just, you have more time to talk now. And that's really all it is. And you're not shooting like this, you're shooting like this. But I have one of my agent clients, he only posted like 3 videos of YouTube, and he got an email from the guy saying, hey, I'm moving to the area. These are my requirements that I'm looking for. He gave him like a price point of what he wants to spend. Now, whether or not he followed up with that lead, because the guy eventually even said, hey, I'm a little drunk, but I don't reach out to many people. Still a lead. It's still someone who reached out.
Did it say through YouTube?
What's that?
Did it say through YouTube?
Yeah, he's like, I love the YouTube videos you put out. He said, like, I like how you
screenshot that and put that on your story and say, do you want these results?
Yeah, I should. And it's just you don't need to have millions of views and millions of followers to have meaningful results on there. And I think that's kind of the great thing about it. What are most of the agents in your area doing when it comes to video?
Not what we sell them for Instagram.
Right.
So I guess I just don't, I'm at the point, if you haven't got it, I just don't believe in what we've been taught, what I've done. I don't believe in what I've done for other agents. I've worked for several months with an agent, and yes, there's a whole lot of factors that go into the effectiveness of the videos we're creating, mainly the consistency, the frequency, how often we're actually posting. So that plays a huge role. But in the end, once I heard from other agents, like, you should be posting, like you saw in my post, you should be posting about communities and news updates, like actual stuff that people care about in your community. I was like, oh no shit, this is literally what we're doing on YouTube. Why haven't we transitioned it into Instagram? And then the other thing is that we all know, just like you're saying, that most of the people that are following and watching agents on social media are other agents. And the reason is they're posting content that attracts other agents, just like you were saying in your last video. And we get stuck in these ways. Like, even we do it. We'll film our aesthetically pleasing editing station, or we'll show our big, 20 channel edit and be like, oh, look at this sick edit. I spent like 10 hours on this sound design. I'm like, they don't care. Okay. You are posting for other video creators. When they use a trending sound from that Family Guy show, or it's not Family Guy, it's some other one, and it's like, how do you know so much about real estate? What are you, some sort of realtor? I don't know if you've heard that trending sound going around on Instagram. The people that are liking those posts are other agents. You know, that's just an idea of like, if you post stuff that an agent thinks is funny, or when you say, oh, when the buyers, buys a new car before closing, like who do you think is attracting? Who do you think likes that content?
Yeah, that personally, I have a video coming out about this. I can't stand when people inadvertently make fun of their clients to make their colleagues laugh. And they might not, it might not be ill intentioned, but you can say like, oh, I've seen one like, oh, when the buyer's 30 minutes late to their showing, and it's like them standing looking at their watch. It's like, if I'm someone watching that, I'm gonna think I'm gonna become the butt of your next joke. And I think a lot of people just they're thinking about the other realtors, not thinking about what the actual buyer or seller watching that is thinking. And I think it's really important to focus to know where you're focusing.
Well, I think it's the way we think is natural, and and so the way we think is natural, but when we have to think of our customer, like when we have to think of content ideas, we actually have to try harder to think from that angle, because it's not the normal headspace. We're coming from the angle of what content should you produce or what the lighting should be, but I'm not going to talk to my client about, oh, I'm going to have this 520D or, whatever, and it's just hard to remove yourself out of that body and put yourself in a different one to communicate differently, because it's not the way most people are used to communicating. So to answer your question, you said, what are most agents doing well, all of them are on Instagram. Some of the ones that are on YouTube, I know, are doing well. And the ones that aren't on YouTube are intimidated to even get on the platform. The people that are on social media, I've spoken with a few agents, and a lot of them have the same problems or same objections of like, I don't know what to create. I don't want to post that often. Like, I don't want to annoy people. And then a lot of the content that they are posting is geared towards agents, or they're doing stuff they feel comfortable with. So let me pull out my piece of paper. So this goes in line with the video I posted today, and this was like a total moment for me. I'm actually going to pull it out now. So once I realized this like changed everything for me. So I realized this because my wife is in content now too, and I'll zoom in on this. So she has a different ideal customer. She creates different types of content that I don't create that resonates with her ideal customer. And that's when I realized like there's different ways to communicate every single idea. So, this was what I posted today, which basically saying, if you have an idea for a piece of content, us video people, we literally only think this way. Studio talking head. I got an idea. I'm going to sit in my studio and I'm going to talk about it. There's only one way I create content. That's it. But in reality, there's all these other ways, and we don't even know what our ideal customer resonates with because we never test anything else out. Similar to an agent, they kind of stick around here for the most part, right? A lot of static, a lot of carousel, some photos, some Canva images, a lot of agents hang out in this area. They don't even venture down to this area. And if they do venture down to this area, they'll hang out in this area. The B-roll with the read the caption, or like them walking up to the camera, looking away and then looking back at it. And they'll say like 3 things to know about buying real estate in today's market or something like that. And they'll never talk to the camera. So I think there's a true healthy blend of all of this in terms of, I'm going to put a read the caption. I'm going to use elements, props to catch people's attention. I am going to do a talking head with sick ass editing, and I am going to post a carousel, or maybe a carousel with a photo and a video. But you really don't know what's going to truly hit unless you test them out. And once you realize how simple it is, like you don't have to go out and make 3 tips for buying your first house video, and you could actually just create 3 restaurants that I love going, 3 best restaurants in this specific neighborhood, and do that over and over, then you realize, number 1, how easy it is, and number 2, how much content there actually is to create. And so you shouldn't be concerned about coming up with ideas.
It's also finding what you can do consistently. Like sometimes I think people burn out pretty hard. Like I'm going to do this and put all my effort into it, and then I realize, oh, it's either not hitting the way I wanted to, or I just can't stay with that consistency.
Yeah. I was posting a lot, right? Like I'd film 30 videos at once. But then you realize you don't even get all the data back, or you can't even really start a new data point until, 60 days from that point, because now it has to be edited and you're not going to be done posting it until another 30 days after that. So I've been creating content, and this is mainly for myself, so I can actually just be like, hey, these are my results. I did a bunch of tests. These are my results. And it's like, I don't want to end up down that road again of 60 days down the way and I still am talking about the same thing to the wrong person in the same way and it's not resonating. So I'm doing it like every week. Like last week was all the whiteboard stuff. This week I'm doing all drawing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to see what kind of works.
Yeah, no, I saw the one today. That was the one with that you just showed me, right? I was fascinated with how you were picking up the pieces of paper. I was like, how would you? Is it like a sticky note backwards? And I realized you had something on your finger. But cool ideas, and I think it's yeah, like you said, you have to try new stuff, and even myself, I'm starting to get to that point now. It's just building out the editor team and stuff like that, where you can actually have the time to do that, and just making it as easy as possible to do the thing. I think is really important. So with your clients, are you 100% YouTube, or are you also making social content for them as well?
I'm driving YouTube. I'm pushing YouTube. I do social content for clients. So at this point in time, I have a few clients that aren't real estate agents, and I have a couple clients that are. One is social, one is YouTube. And I'm trying to funnel all future clients into YouTube. Because if I'm going to be spending my time doing anything, I might as well be spending my time doing something that I know gets the most results, even though it might be the most expensive.
Right. Um, so what's like the YouTube strategy that you found to work? Is it a certain amount of videos per month, or have you tested different things and seen patterns?
No, it's really just what the strategy is creating content that here, can I share my screen? I have a presentation that I also, I made a case study video, right? And that's what I'm pushing people towards on my Instagram to generate more conversations. And it's a case study, so it's a presentation, and it's also the presentation I use when I talk to agents and they're not ready to move forward or whatever. I say, well, do you have a brokerage, right? Or what is your brokerage? Do you guys meet once a month or a few times a month and you need speakers? Like, I'd love to come and talk about YouTube for real estate. So I use the same exact presentation. So essentially, I'm using the same exact lead magnet, if you will, to get people in, and it's working really well.
Yeah. Is it letting you share your screen?
I haven't even tried.
Oh, okay.
There we go. So essentially, this is what we're looking at. This is basically the top 25 videos to get your first 100 subscribers. So what's the strategy? The strategy is to create content that people are searching for. In the end, YouTube uh, does not promote channels. They promote content. So when you first start a channel, it's not going to promote your channel as like, hey, this is a new channel. They're going to show your video as a result to a search result. So that's why it's basically impossible. Remember back in the day, where vlogging was super big and everybody was trying to start vlogging channels, when in reality that's basically impossible because no one's searching for that, and you're hoping someone just happens to be served up your channel and your thumbnail was eye-catching enough. So for that reason we start with search-based topics, and it's all based on strategy. And obviously this is for the typical agent that is just looking to buy and sell. It's most agents out there, right? So we basically just go down the list. Top suburb, second most search suburb, third most search suburb, fourth most search suburb, and then here's some content ideas that are more about the state. And when you look at each suburb, it's all the same type of content. We're going to do a vlog of the most searched suburb. We're going to do a map tour of this suburb. We're going to do the pros and cons of the suburb. And then we're going to compare the top suburb versus the second suburb. And then we do that for all the suburbs. And you can see that once all those are created, posting once per week, you're going to have a whole library of content. And the whole idea is that so we're capturing relocation clients. Most people that that are just moving city to city, neighboring cities, they're not going to go to YouTube. Like, they already know. They already know the pros and cons. They know everything. So we're trying to capture the relocation clients. So what are they really looking for? And so that's why we create the content to really help them understand, because they're not there. When I moved from out of state to here, I had no idea the distance in between all these different areas. I knew the town I wanted to be in, but it was too expensive. So now I need to learn about the next town. So how do I, like that. So this is the content that we really stick around. And then the other strategy is to go to other people in the space that I know for the most part, and I'll just search their most search topics, and I'll also study. There's some YouTube for real estate like gurus out there, and they'll be more analytical about it. And so I'll study that and listen to what he has to say about how to basically just capture attention and keep it around longer and get people to actually watch a 30-minute video, let's say.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I think a lot of times something that I'm seeing is people will go to these conferences and courses and stuff like that, and how to do or what to do. But a lot of people just don't. They just don't have the time to learn how to do it the right way. They don't either. It's video is not their thing, and they still need someone to help them do it. And I think that's where a lot of those courses kind of fall short. Is they're like, okay, this is what you should do, and then they're like, oh, okay, and then some do it, some don't, and I think that's where like, yeah, you or I come in to really help those people along, is to take all the stuff that they know they should be doing or people are telling them to, and actually help them implement it, while also adding a layer of accountability, because now there's a little more skin in the game when they pay for it.
Yeah. Do you have a strategy behind the YouTube that you've done with Johnny?
So Johnny and I have just started YouTube, so there's really, we have actually just made yesterday pros, like how, like living in Buffalo in winter, like stuff like that, like what to, and then we're trying to similar stuff to what you're doing. We're starting to actually make it really hyper local content, because that's what people are going to be searching, and that's what people care about. They're not going to necessarily need to know what the interest rate is right now, or here's the process for selling or buying a house. They want to know, where am I moving, and what is it like, and what is it to do, and does it align with my hobbies and things like that. So we're getting there. We're just kind of starting to switch to the strategy of like social isn't really, it's part of the puzzle, but it's not the answer to it.
You can say it. You can say it.
I didn't know what I was going to say there, but it's not the magic bullet. And I think a lot of people are, because it's kind of the easiest barrier to entry right now. I mean, everything's kind of, YouTube's easy to get into too, but I think a lot of people are just seeing other agents posting these reels and like, oh, I'm going to do it too, and nothing really comes from it. Let's circle back into YouTube a little bit. What do you tell people when they say they don't want to do YouTube, or they don't, because they don't think they're going to go viral or anything like that?
So I do everything. Well, so I don't have those conversations. I'm not talking to someone. I'm in having the conversation. So here's my strategy. Remember I said meeting people where they're at? So what I'm doing, my strategy for social media right now is teach people how to post on social media as simply as possible. Talk about these things, like demystify social media for these real estate agents. I'm trying to literally give away everything as easy as possible to make them understand it and make it so that, like, oh, this isn't as hard as I thought. Okay, I'm not as intimidated as I thought. And I've even had people reach out to me saying, oh, wow, you got me really hyped, right? Like I didn't realize, once someone explains it super simply, it's like, oh, wow, I'm actually ready to take action now, because I was so fogged by the complexity of what I'd created in my head. So my strategy is to meet them where they're at. I'm going to give you ideas on how to post on social media. And then when you follow me, when you engage with me, when you post, I'm going to reach out to you. So a lot of this social funnel stuff that you hear about, all these coaches and consultants that are in the video space are talking about, it's exactly what I do. I'll engage with them. Hey, thanks for the follow. Hey, where are you an agent? Honestly, I'm only engaging, since I don't have a virtual product yet, I'm only engaging with the people that are in my area. Hey, notice, so you're a real estate agent, right? In this one town that's right next to me. Oh, that's awesome. How's business going? What are your goals? And there's a whole stair ladder that, I learned from somebody else. And honestly, it works really well. So I heard a while ago, instead of I forget who said it, but it's like, hey, just wanted to follow up. Hey, just seeing, so you have a conversation with someone, right? And then you reach out to them, and you're like, hey, just wanted to follow up to see if you wanted to pay me yet. Are you ready to pay me?
Right.
So that's when I started, and then I started hearing this whole social funnel side of things, creating the case studies, creating content for YouTube that you can deploy as assets to help solve people's problems. So from the DMs, Then I say, hey, I just created this case, just everything you're doing. I just created this case study on how this agent is currently generating 3 to 5 leads per week on YouTube. Do you want me to send it? Every single person says, yeah, send it over, because it's a completely non-committal thing. Everyone says send it over. Just this morning, I had an agent from 2 weeks ago. I sent it to him. I'd never even followed up with them. Reach out to me. Hey, I finally got around to watching that video. I'm ready to set up a call. So they came back to me. So this strategy is really, really working well. I'm also leveraging, DM me for this thing really hard. So I have 2 lead magnets, which are what I just showed you, the 25 ideas to your first 100 subscribers. And I also have 25 hooks that grab attention. So those are the 2 ones I try to throw in there when it makes sense. Like in today's video, I said, okay, you got all this stuff lined out. The next thing you need is hooks. So, DM me for this. And it's really just a test. Am I catching the interest of people? And that's how I get the conversation started. There was a stat that said people who engage with you in DMs are 75% more likely to buy from you. So even if you're just trying to start conversations to give away free stuff, you are increasing the odds of people actually buying from you. So I'm loving, the whole social media side of things is very slow, especially I spent 60 days banging my head against the wall, right? It's super slow until you actually find something that works. At this point, I've had over 400 followers in the last 7 days, and literally every single person's handle has real estate in it.
That's awesome.
I don't know what happened. Something happened. Well, I boosted the post too. That's another thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm running like any post that starts to do pretty well, I instantly go put money behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll just say run to people in my audience or like my audience.
Yeah, no, I think that's smart. And I think too, I think maybe some of that is the algorithm finally realizing what's going on there. But no, I think it's the content was just so good. Like I think the one that kind of popped was the whiteboard one, right? So
Very
I think
first one.
It's finding the one that hits and is, like you said, boosting it, getting in front of as many people as you can, and letting all the other stuff take over, and having those engagement strategies, which I think are important because so many people think I'm just going to post and people are going to reach out to me. That almost never happens. You got to kind of just watch for a signal of maybe they liked it or maybe they did comment, and that's where you have to kind of engage a little bit and lean in and let them know that you're not just broadcasting your message to them, but you actually are here to help them and learn from them. And then, in my opinion, I think if you reach out to someone who commented on one of your videos, and then you have like a YouTube video that you can send them, like actually, through talking with you, I think you actually might get value out of watching this. It just gets people more into your world, and just gets like eventually over time, like I'm only going to work with this person because no one else is taking that much time to care about me.
Yeah, I think for real estate, the foundation, it starts at YouTube. Creating the content for number one, just for Boise, Idaho, there's over 2 million searches a month and on YouTube for our area. So when you're creating the content specifically because everyone's searching for it, that's the number one benefit. And then if you do really want to do social media, which I don't think you truly have to, but if you want to, you finally have something now for email marketing. You have something now for like, where are you thinking about moving? Oh, I've been looking into the Hidden Springs. Okay, well, I just made this video, or I made the video about Hidden Springs. Did you want me to send it over? Yeah, send it over. Oh, here it is. Check it out, and let me know if you have any questions, right? And so I think YouTube is the foundation of all marketing for real estate, in my opinion, as far as the front end awareness goes. That's just my opinion, though. That's what I've seen work the best, and that's what I hear other people talking about, and I believe in because I've seen it work.
Yeah, and it's something that not everybody is doing yet. So anybody who does it is either going to get the early success of that in the area, but also they're just going to stand by doing the things your competition isn't doing. You're just going to stand out so much more. And I think it's important to do. Now, when it comes to YouTube, do you have I think a lot of times setting expectations for what gets results is really important. I think a lot of times, not just agents, any business or anybody thinks that, hey, I'm going to do this for 3 weeks or a month or 2 months, and I'm going to start getting these leads coming in. But when it comes to, is it Tia? Is that how she says her name?
Yeah.
She's doing awesome. You guys are doing awesome. How long did it take for that to start producing that 3 to 5 leads a week from YouTube?
I've been working with her for 1 year. She's been on YouTube for 3 years. So they were flown in long before I was there.
Okay. Do you know how long?
She said a year.
So it took about a year of consistently posting before things really started going.
It, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important. I've had one of my agents who works with me now. It took him a year of following me before he reached out. And I think a lot of people just expect things to kind of go really, pop off, which doesn't always happen. It's really kind of like those who just are there when the longest usually end up winning. Um, so I think that's important to at least let people know. It's like, hey, it's not going to be overnight.
But there's, I mean, the most obvious thing that we're not saying is that if you want to reach your goals, you're going to get there faster by going with someone who's already been there. So if you want to reach your fitness goals and you just try and watch YouTube videos about workouts and nutrition and try and figure it out all on your own, it's going to take you a little bit longer, or probably a lot longer than it is to work with someone who's a coach and consults people on what workouts to do, how to eat, and pushes you, right? So that's so when we say it took her a year, her thumbnails weren't optimized, her titles weren't optimized, there was no consistent cadence, and you're always going to find it. There's a few things that need to happen that aren't going to happen in the beginning, no matter whether you're working with someone or not. And one of the biggest ones is you're not comfortable on camera and you don't know how to make a video. Like, I can't help you. I can only do so much to help you with that. So there's always going to be a learning curve, but there's letting go of everything that isn't on your plate, in terms of, like, most people aren't going to pay $10 for a professional thumbnail that's going to pop. They just won't. I don't know why, but they won't. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can make. Number one is picking the right content and titling it correctly, but then having a great thumbnail, and the rest will take care of itself. Like, that's the anchor in all of this. If you have the best video and it's edited amazing, you have the best hook, you flow right through everything, and if someone watches it, they watch at least 80% and they call you. If you don't have a great thumbnail and you haven't optimized the title, it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, I think what Mr. Beast spends like hundreds of thousands of dollars on his thumbnails. So like there's clearly value to getting things right and testing things and investing where you need to. Um, Now, I don't know. I'm not familiar with Idaho at all. Is where she is a large city or is it like a smaller area? So she's getting that many leads in a small area.
So she's in McCall. McCall is the closest, like, mountain vacation destination outside of Boise, which is just over 2 hours away. So it does have that going for it, where the average home sells for anywhere between 1 and 5 million, something like that. So there is that benefit of that. However, there's only 10,000 people in the entire county, which is comprised of 5 to 8 different cities. And there's less than 10,000 people in the county, and that area only gets 27,000 searches. Now, that might not mean anything to you, but just compare that to Boise, which is still not a big town. We only have less than 1 million people in our valley here, which is very small compared to Phoenix. You're in Philadelphia or
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Yeah. Compared to all these other ones, there's a lot more searches. So even Boise gets 2 million searches on YouTube, and that's a small town. So compare that with someplace like Chicago or someplace, you're going to be in the multi-millions of searches. So we're still generating 3 to 5 leads per week, sometimes 3 to 5 leads per day in the high season, honestly, in a small area. It works in every industry because nobody is going to just go buy blindly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people maybe think that, hey, we're in a smaller town. I'm not gonna. It's not as searchable, but I think it's almost like people are answering for their audience sometimes, and they're not thinking, oh, they're not gonna want to watch that, or no one's looking for that. But maybe they're not looking for it because it's not there. And if you're there, you'll be the one that's found. And I think that's holding some people back sometimes. It's like, oh, I live in a small town. No one's searching on YouTube. But I think that's not true at all.
I think maybe the thing to add into there, though, is, like, let's consider hotspots, right? You're going to have hotspots around your state, and you want to attach yourself to a hotspot. So we say McCall only has 27,000 searches, but if you were to look at one of the neighboring towns of Cascade, it wouldn't even show up on the map. Like, there's nothing. So if you were an agent in Cascade, it'd be best to lock yourself onto McCall instead,
Right,
because
right.
that's what people are going to search for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, within a certain maybe like radius, right? Like what's
Exactly. Wherever that radius falls, attach yourself to the most searched area.
She probably doesn't want to be making Boise content because then.
Well, it would be smart to make a video saying, when we talked about this, Boise's top vacation destination.
Mm-hmm. But not making it all about moving to like specific suburbs in Boise, right? Because you want to keep it to where does she take
No, we're
people?
just leveraging the keyword.
Right, right.
It's all about McCall,
Yeah,
but we're leveraging the keyword.
makes sense. So I don't want to keep you too long, and I do appreciate your time. So just got two more questions here, and I don't know how it is out there, but the market is the market, and I think I've gotten some feedback that agents and teams are kind of tightening their belts right now. And what I have my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on someone who's like, hey, we're going into a really weird 2024. We're not going to spend money on our marketing as much.
So if business is slow, you look for ways to increase your business. So for a market to be slow, everyone still wants to know how to grow on social media, how to get more leads, how to close more leads, how to get more eyeballs. So if someone were to say, "Oh, we're tightening up our budget," I mean that's fine. You can do whatever you see fit, but in the end, I mean, not to answer your question so indirectly, but this is the way I relate your question is that, as you know, just like you, I've recently niched down into real estate. And I even had three of my real estate clients, one's a mortgage person, tell me, don't do it. You should also go after this industry and that industry. Things are slow and you shouldn't be doing this. And I told them, that's like me telling you that you shouldn't be a real estate agent and you should also go buy Airbnbs because things are getting slow. That doesn't make any sense, right? And we know that, I've heard Hormozy say this in terms of like tough times breed strong people. Strong people bring good times. Good times bring weak people, and weak people bring strong time or weak times, whatever. You get the point that I'm trying to make. Right now, we're going through a hard time, and I know that if I continue to put out content, if I continue to promote that YouTube is the best place to get your leads, and I continue to provide a service that is available to clients that agent, it has to logically make sense to them, and they can logically see why this investment makes sense, then they will continue to move forward. And I know that even though this is a tough time, that as long as I stay marketing myself, that I will, as soon as things are, I know that just like you're saying, people are tightening up their budgets. They're not going to be marketing. So you're essentially saying, I don't want any more awareness. So then if I just continue to bring awareness to myself and people are ready, then they'll come to me, right? Like, I mean, that's the theory behind it all. And, think of this. I've heard a lot of agents talk about this, so in our local area, there were like 20,000 agents in 2020. And then I think the normal amount is less than 10,000. And so when things are really great, you don't have to be good at what you do because when there's a lot of fish in the pond, you just throw the reel in there and you start catching shit, right? And so that's why, the easy times breed weak people. So right now we're having to be very strategic and very good at what we do. Just like you're saying, agents are tightening up their belts. Well, the ones that we actually, I don't want to say get to work with us or convince to work with us, but the ones that we essentially get to believe in the strategy and the offer that we have presented to them, are, I don't know where I'm going with this, honestly, but ultimately it's just like, it's going to require more to do our job well right now than it will in the future. So if you can figure it out now, it'll be easier in the future.
Yeah, I agree. And I think doing the things when it's slow or that are going to set you up for success in the future is huge. And I think a lot of what we're seeing, and I think Hormozy, since you brought him up, made a reel recently about agents saying, oh, the market's bad, so they're blaming everything going badly on the market. And they say, well, so are you letting the market, you're giving all the credit to the market for being successful in the past few years. And I think a lot of times people now they were always saying, hey, the market's so good, that's why so many realtors are doing good. And then now that it's doing bad, that the ones they always said were going to be weeded out are just getting weeded out right now. So the ones who are thinking strategically, not about just what's going on now and thinking down the road and what do they need to do today to be better tomorrow, are going to be the ones that are going to be set up for success better. And they're not going to be trying, I think, in my opinion, stopping your marketing when things are slow is a lot like stopping a boat. Like and then you have to restart all that momentum to get that boat back out of the water. And every time you stop, it's going to take, you're just kind of resetting yourself. So I think finding a way to stay consistent through the harder times will definitely make you stronger in the long run, like what you said.
Ultimately, in the end, when someone has that argument, I don't think it's a strong argument on our side to try and tell them that they should continue to buy from us because they just don't believe that they should, right? Like us being like, hey, you should continue to market. Like all these things we just said, it's not convincible, if that's the right word. And so that's why I'm choosing just to do the magnetic side of things. When agents are they're finding like I'll engage with them. The funny thing is you reach out to these people when they follow you. You ask them a few questions. They probably think this person's being too invasive. Why are they like, I just followed you. Should I unfollow you? And then you keep providing the content. You keep putting out these reels that say, DM me for this. You're posting content that makes sense to them. Like, don't do home tours like this. Do it like this. These are the types of content you should be making. Now, all of a sudden, they'll get a message from them like 3 weeks later DMing you that word and answering that question they totally ghosted you on from 3 weeks prior. And it's because you got to provide them with something. You can't just say, you should buy from me, right?
Right.
You
Yeah.
just have to continue. I don't want to say wait for people to come, but it's magnetic,
Yeah.
continue to, and it really comes down to understanding your audience and what they care about. And right now they care about posting on social media.
Yeah. And being there, it's really just being there when they are ready and just staying top of mind. I think I actually this morning had someone who I reached out to start a conversation. She messaged me back and said, "I'm sorry I left you on red on Sunday. I want to take some time to think about it." And initially I would say no to have. I just want to have a conversation. She said, "Normally I would say no, but I like your energy on videos is so good. So I feel like I actually want to step out of my comfort zone to do that." And yeah, so I think it's weird to just kind of DM somebody, but if you're there for them and creating that magnetic content that over time they start to realize maybe I can reach out to so and so, I think that's really really valuable.
Yeah. The one thing I have noticed with agents is a lot of it is bootstrapped. A lot of it is DIY. So providing them with as much information to bootstrap it as much as they can and then meet them where they're at. Kind of like Hermosi in a way, where it's like, I'm going to give you everything you need. And once you get to this point, I'll be there for you, or maybe I'll be there for you, I guess. It's kind of like the theory.
Yeah, because I personally I truly want whoever I come in contact with to do well, especially if you're running your own business. It's really hard to do that. So I respect anybody who is either starting it or has been doing it for a few years or for 10 years, 20 years. I think I really wanting them to succeed and is giving them everything that you can to say like, even if you did this without me, I still think you're going to have success with it. But I'm here for you if you need me. Or if you get to that level where you can afford to work with us, or you're ready to work with us in a mental state, is really huge. And I think putting goodwill out there is really really important for what we do, or for anybody.
Yeah, so to go back to talking about this time of frame, this time that we're in terms of markets and rates and wintertime and all that, if you provide them with the information on how to grow right now and they do it on their own because they have the time, and then when things get busy, they still want to keep it up, that's when they'll reach out to you and say, I want you to take this over. And because I've, just like Ramosi says, I've taken your strategies and I've gotten me to here, obviously I'll believe in you to do it.
Right. No, I think that's awesome. Well, I really do appreciate this. I know this is selfishly a little bit the conversation I want to have for myself because you helped me niche into real estate, but I really think this will be a valuable conversation for anybody who is an agent who wants to maybe get a little peek behind the curtain of what we talk about and how we think about approaching the business. But and hopefully we'll get somebody to reach out to you to give some more of those presentations. And again, thank you so much for having this conversation. And I'll wherever we post it, obviously I'll tag you and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm excited for the future. A lot of big plans for 2024 to help make things easier for agents. Obviously, a lot of people that are teaching agents how to do stuff haven't come from an agent background. And so I think there's an opportunity for people like us who come from a video background, as long as you can be a chameleon and morph yourself into what they've been brought up as and communicate to them, then I think there's a real opportunity there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we'll talk soon.
All right, man. Have a good one.